Hello everybody and welcome to the Pretty Good Gaming Podcast episode number 76. Hello a croeso I podcast rhif 76. My name's Gareth Evans. I'm joined by Mr. Henry Next Gen Cooper. How are you doing, Mr. Cooper?
I'm not feeling particularly next gen. I don't know about
are you not?
nickname. I mean,
you haven't got the virus, have you?
Well, at least that I'm aware of.
You're contagious.
I might have it like asymptomatic or something, but I think I'm okay.
So, how's your week been? What have you been up to? What have you been playing? Has it been exciting? And do you still have the will to live?
None of the above, essentially. I mean, I'm still going. I've been playing more of Marvel's Avengers because it is like it's not great and it's got a bunch of problems, but I am having fun. So I'm at the point where I'm like, well, I'll do a few like daily challenges and stuff while I'm in the swing of it. And then if I miss a day, then it's probably going to be game over and I'll just completely stop. But I'm still enjoying it. I feel like every time they update it, because they've updated it a few times since launch, there's a whole new line of bugs that were supposed to be fixed, but I've just been hitting more of. Like, in it, which I can't remember if I even said last time or in the review, some of the cosmetics you unlock completely by random chance, which is like you'll find a pattern in a level, and then you've got to take it back to base and decipher it. So sometimes you'll get it, you have no idea where you're going to get it or how you're going to get it, sometimes it just happens, and then you have no idea what you're going to get from that, whether it's a skin for Thor, Hulk, Iron Man, whoever. And a few times, I've deciphered one and literally nothing's happened, even though it's supposed to give you a new thing. I've had it where it's given me stuff that I've already got, and sometimes it says that I've collected one, then it's not in the vault to decode, so it's a real fucking shit show, and the more I play it, the more bugs I'm coming across, and it's just frustrating.
Well, I saw a bug that was shared on Twitter by Jason Schreier, and it was one where it wasn't during a mission, it was a character interaction with somebody, and he was Thor, and he walked up to this character, and he engaged some sort of menu screen with her, and then it cut out, and then the character just repeated the same line over and over. That's amazing, or something like that. You're amazing.
Seriously, you're the best. Seriously, you're the best. Seriously, you're the best. That's it.
Wow.
Because you accept challenges, and I mean, there should be a button to just accept all, but there's like, I think there's 8 little ones, which will like kill a bunch of guys or collect this resource or whatever, and then there'll be a big one, which is like a boss or something. But you just click through all of them, like and then just to get it over with, and then she'll just loop that dialogue over and over. She'll normally say like something else first, like thanks, you're a lifesaver, and then it'll be seriously you're the best, seriously you're the best, seriously you're the best, over and over and over again.
That's so funny.
I mean, thanks. I mean, maybe I believed it the first time when you said I was the best, but now you've said it so many times, I don't think I believe you anymore.
What struck me about that was this game's about being a power fantasy, right? You're Thor, and this is pretty much, I haven't played it, I'm seeing a lot of this game, and him just milling around in this outpost, and he going up and like messing around with skins and like menu screens and stuff. That's not exactly what I expect to be doing as Thor. I think they might have missed the whole point here, right? You're not supposed to be faffing around, you're supposed to be smashing shit up and flying around and saving the world.
I think I brought that up in my review this week, because like you have the helicarrier, which is like a story thing, and it develops over time. You get more like rooms and shit to go in and do stuff. And I likened it to the Normandy in Mass Effect. It's kind of an evolving ship where you get different stuff, which is cool, but it's a pain in the ass to get around, because you can sprint, but it's not really a sprint. It's more of like a brisk jog. And half the shit is on the other side of the ship, so you've got miles to run to get anything. When it's like, can't you just put it in a menu? And then there's a completely separate outpost with completely separate challenges and gear stores and shit. I'm like, can't I just go through it with a menu? Like, they'd be cleaner. Keep the helicarrier having, I can look at this, I can go into Thor's room and try and pick up the hammer, but oh no, Iron Man can't. Lovely, fun little Easter egg, cool.
There you go.
But why have I got to run around, briskly jog around trying to find fucking cosmetic vendors and shit?
Yeah, doesn't sound like a superhero task to me, but what do I know? So myself, I've just been playing Crusader Kings again. I actually tried this other game that wasn't very good, so I'm not going to talk about it. I'm not going to badmouth it either because it's in early access, so I'm not going to go into detail with that. But I did try another. The point is, I did try another game. I prized myself away from Crusader Kings 3 for like half an hour, and then I was like, this just isn't doing it. Let's go back to Crusader Kings 3. But I'm still loving that game, and I will for months to come probably. I get to a point where I'm playing it so often, I'll probably just cold turkey off it. That's what I tend to do. I think
that's probably what's going to happen with me in Avengers, because I'm kind of in the swing of things. I'm rolling through, but if I miss one day, I'm like, fuck it. I'm not going back.
But there has been a lot of exciting news this week to do with games and the next generation and all that. So that's one of the main topics.
Fucking last.
Xbox has come out and give us a whole bunch of new info on the next generation. So we're talking about that first. And then there's some info about Skull and Bones, which we'll be going through. Following that, we'll be taking some Discord questions, reading some YouTube comments, Triggered FaNbOy comment of the week as well, and then the Bad Dad Jag of the week to finish off the show. So let's jump in with this huge next-gen Xbox news.
Red arrows on the thumbnail.
It actually is big news because we've been waiting for this announcement for so long, and then during the course of a week we've learned officially that the Xbox Series S exists, which is the digital only version, and also we've got the price, which everybody was waiting for, and they buckled first because we were expecting either Sony to announce the PS5 price or Microsoft to announce the Xbox Series X/S prices, and they've done both of those, right? So the Xbox Series X, which is the all singing, all dancing fridge, the black unit, the thing, the beefy kind of Hulk type of incarnation of the next generation console, comes in at $500 or £449 or £450. And then the Series S, which we'll talk about in depth in just a sec. We'll go through all the specs, but that comes in at £250 or $300. So, what do we think of them prices, Henry?
I mean, it's pretty much right in line with what I was expecting and what I sort of saw the general chatter of, being around $500, which is still quite a lot of money and certainly not something that everyone can just run away and pick up. Oh, yeah, I've got $500 to just throw on a games console, something for entertainment. But that's where their Series S comes in, and which is why I think that's actually a really great idea, because it's a much more accessible version. $300, so it's $200 less in American, but it's got lower performance, which we'll go into in a sec. And that sounds like a great idea in theory, but I brought up because I touched on it in a video earlier this week when it was sort of leaked. The S was leaked, and then they officially confirmed it like immediately after. They're like, oh yeah, here you go, boom, there it is. It's 250 quid or whatever. And I've totally lost my train of thought. So my worry is that it's going to follow the mobile model to a fault. So the mobile model, everyone knows that you buy generally you'll get like a contract, and after 2 years, 3 years, whatever, you'll upgrade and change your contract to something else with a different phone, probably a better one. But my concern is that this will lead to dozens and dozens of pointless, unnecessary Xbox consoles, which are just there, like the iPhones or the Samsungs, which just pump out the same thing over and over and over again with basically no innovation, and there's no difference between either of them, really. I mean, most high-end phones these days are exactly the same as their rival companies, with very little difference. If
you think about it this way, right? I mean, that's a very good point. However, in my positive outlook on this thing, right, it's a different industry, right? Phones basically can do everything you want them to do 5 or 10 years ago, right? Makes calls, surfs the internet, whatever you do on your phone. However, games consoles are a little bit different because you're running games on it, right? So the hardware is really, really important. So that incremental increase in hardware is going to make a difference, especially, console generations 7 years apart. You're waiting ages to get better hardware, unless you're a PC gamer, and then you can upgrade every year when the next graphics card comes out. I think this might be a little different to the mobile market in that in 2 years' time, you might want that incremental increase in performance in your games console because it might run the games that much better. Whereas on a phone, you're not going to surf the web any faster if you've got a better processor or anything. So I think that it might well work well for this. We are talking here about, we kind of jumped the gun, but they are offering these consoles on subscription models, and I'll detail these first, right? So the Series X you can get for £29 per month on a 24-month contract. That's 0 APR, and that's a total cost of £696. I'm assuming that's rounded up to like $30 or $35 in the US. I didn't check that. I think it's $35. So that would, and that obviously that might leaks back to the S Series X. That's £21 a month. $25 a month, I know that for certain, and that's £504 over 2 years. And what's great about that is that you get lumped in with it the Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, which itself over the 24 months is valued at £264. So in essence, because it's 0 APR, I've done the maths on this, you're actually paying less over 2 years if you go for this finance option. If you were going to buy a console and get 24 months of Xbox Game Pass, it works out cheaper over that 2 years. So it's a bit of a no-brainer. I think it's a great value for money proposition for people who were, again, going to buy the console, as well as get the 24 months of Game Pass. You're talking about Game Pass here, which is, in my eyes, the best value proposition in gaming anywhere. All these games, all Microsoft first-party games on day of release, come to the Game Pass. I've been Game Pass for PC member for months and months and months, and it's just outstanding. And on top of that, if the cherry on the cake is that EA Play is coming to Game Pass in a couple of months too. So that's all of the EA games that are on the EA Play. That's the basic. It is the basic package for like £5 a month or whatever. However, they're coming to Game Pass, so throwing that in there. We're talking all Mass Effect series, you're talking the Dragon Age ones if you haven't played them, as well as the old FIFAs or one of the most recent. I think I know FIFA 19's on there, and EA Sports games and Battlefront, Battlefield. It's great value. It's just again adding to the value that you're getting out of that. That's why I'm positive about this. That's why I'm positive.
All of this is really great value and everything, and it's very much just my not really skepticism, but kind of cynicism and kind of being a bit cautious and wary, because it's only speculation. I've no guarantee it's going to happen, but as it stands right now, paying $28.99 a month for an Xbox One, assuming you're a fan of the Xbox and those sort of games, and getting 24 months of Game Pass, which, as you say, Game Pass Ultimate, which includes what do they call it on Xbox Live Gold, so you can play multiplayer. All of that is an incredible deal. Game Pass is it's the best thing in gaming right now for playing lots of different things, and all of my kind of concerns are just like in my own head and just what ifs. So it's not anything to actually be concerned about right now. It's like I was saying about in the Cyberpunk video earlier this week, where a lot of people got upset saying that microtransactions are in Cyberpunk 2077 when they're not. They're in Cyberpunk Multiplayer Online, which they haven't even named, which is a different game to 2077. If it doesn't, this is a separate thing. I don't know how many. So I've got a YouTube comment about it. I'm going to save that for later. But anyway, people are getting mad about something that may or may not even be the case, because if it's a free-to-play game with microtransactions, who really gives a shit? But maybe it's a full price thing, but you don't know, so you're getting mad about it. So I'm not mad about it if it's because it's this incremental model, like mobile phones releasing over and over and over again with the same shit, because I don't know. It's just an open concern. It's a potential problem that may or may not manifest in the future.
So how about you? You don't. I mean, you've got a current generation PlayStation as well as an Xbox currently, right? Would you consider this subscription? And if so, which one would you consider?
I mean, the cost-effective version is one that always will kind of be... I'm more drawn to, because I'm not a big sort of tech head. So long as it runs well and smoothly, then that's all I need. I'm not too fussed about Ultra 4K and whatnot. I've got a very low bar for that sort of thing. But I'm also like, well, I like having physical copies, and that's just a personal sort of romanticization of gaming and all that. So maybe I'd like the other one. But one of my main things is at the moment I'm mainly considering getting like a decent enough PC or laptop for next generation or something like that, rather than a console, mainly because pretty much all of the Microsoft games and Xbox first party and all that, they're all coming to a PC anyway. So is there any real point in these consoles? And the interesting thing is that Microsoft doesn't seem to, well, maybe not care is the right word, but it's like they're not really pushing the consoles as their like be all and end all driving force. It's all about Game Pass. It's all about Xbox Live Gold. So long as you're using one of those services on the Xbox Series X, the Xbox Series S, or a PC, they're winning. So that's they're playing a slightly different game to PlayStation at the moment.
You consider it, right? Every PC that gets bought usually comes with a version of Windows 10, right? Who makes that? That's Microsoft. They don't care. They're winning. They're hedging their bets here. They don't really care. Like a PC, they win at PC as well. And that's what people don't realize.
They said recently, I think it was last year, that they don't even consider Sony as their main competitor anymore because their business models are so different. Not because they're winning the console war or anything. They're just like, well, no, we're going to do it differently.
They're so beneath them is what they mean.
Yeah, you're nothing little, you little router with your white fans.
Just flick you away like you're a little pest.
They think their threats, well, not threats, but competition is stuff like Apple or Amazon, which are doing these subscription things, which is it puts it in an interesting place for next gen. But I don't know how necessary the Xbox as a box, as an actual console, is the next generation of the company as a whole. I mean, people will still buy it. People like having consoles. It's convenient. It's a more cost-effective version than getting a high-end PC that you have to upgrade incrementally. But then that links back to my sort of concerns about whether it's going to follow the mobile model of continuously punching out new stuff with very slight variation. If you're up for that in Microsoft space, in the Xbox space, just get a PC and you can do it anyway. You can upgrade your PC with better stuff and like a little bit at a time, rather than having to, do a brand new system or something like that. Yeah. So I think PC is just the better place to be if you're a Xbox fan, which is kind of a weird thing to say.
I think what they've got going for them here is the convenience of it all, right?
Yeah, that's it.
PC gaming is a bit of an undertaking if you're new to it, whereas if all you need is £21 per month for the next 2 years, which is affordable in this day, I would say. And then you've got not only the next generation console and your telly to play, you've got all the games whenever they're released, the first party ones on the day of release for Microsoft. So you've got a bunch of games, you've got the new console, and you're good to go. £21 per month. You just plug it in, download the games, and you're good. I see that as such an attractive proposition for so many people who just can't be faffed with the PC and like having to go to Steam or what's the Steam nonsense? What have I got to do now? How do I install? What are mods? Like what's this nonsense?
And then you've got to think about the Epic Store as well now. Which is the next problem.
I need another launcher. What is a launcher?
What's a launcher?
But anyway, in terms of proposition for me, I mean, I got to compare these two boxes, and it's like, the Xbox Series S, it's awesome. It's a next-gen console. But is it, though? What do we know about the specs? That's my first question. It's like, how does it compare versus the Xbox Series X? Get these
such bad names. Right. You're going to need a spreadsheet to figure it out for the grandparents at Christmas.
We've got the Xbox One X. We've got the Xbox Series X. We've got the Xbox Series S. And the Xbox One S. One S. Yeah, it's very confusing. But make sure I get them right. So the next generation, which is the Xbox Series X, how does it compare to that? How does the Xbox Series S compare with current generation consoles? How does it compare with the PlayStation 5? We don't know these questions. Well, we know the answer to some of these questions. So in terms of specs, we've got comparison. I've got a comparison chart here between the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series S, and that is, for confirmation, the two next generation consoles coming from Microsoft. So the hardware, the CPU on the Series X is a 3.6 gigahertz AMD 8 core. Series S is a 3.4 gigahertz AMD 8-core. So it's just 0.2 smaller. That can't be that bad. That sounds good to me. So tick on the CPU. Sounds all right. The GPU, however, it's a AMD RDNA 2 GPU 52 CUs at 1.825 gigahertz is the Xbox Series X. And the only difference in the Series S is that it's a 1.565 gigahertz and there's only 20 CUs. So that is a bit of a downgrade. And so if you look at the GPU power, the Series X has 12.15 teraflops and the Series S only has 4 teraflops. Now, when the Xbox One X came out, right, they were saying, we got 6 teraflops. There's like, they were all singing, all dancing, we got the most teraflops in any console ever, because they were trying to big themselves up over the PS5 Pro at the time. 6 teraflops is what the Xbox One X has. The Xbox Series X, which is the next generation, has only 4 teraflops, making the One X 1.5 times more, giving it more 1.5 times more GPU power than the Xbox Series X. So although it is a next generation console, the Xbox Series S, it's not even as powerful as the last generation One X. So they're not singing and dancing about the teraflops anymore, are they?
No, they're drunk at the bar asking for another, but they've been cut off.
Yeah, exactly. So on top of those specs, let's have a look briefly through the rest of them. 16 gigabytes DDR R6 RAM in this Series X, 10 gigabytes DDR GDDR6 RAM Series S. So it's a bit of a downgrade there. Now, I don't know what kind of spec this is, but they say performance target. That isn't a spec. That is a this is wishful thinking is what this is, but they've detailed it. So their wishful thinking on the performance for the Series X is 4K at 60 FPS up to 120 FPS. And on the Series S, it's 1440p at 60 FPS up to 120 FPS. And basically, up to 120 FPS means nothing. It means not all experiences will have 120 FPS. And the target is 60. It means nothing.
The Series S, as you said, is less powerful GPU than the Xbox One X. Fucking hell, these names are doing my brain right in. But the Xbox One X can't even consistently across the board get 1440 and 60 FPS.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it can sometimes on some things, but not everything. Like, so I think performance target, yeah, maybe you'll hit that for like one title, maybe a Halo or something, because you've really put all your money. Although, to be honest, Halo's probably going to be a real shit show based on how it looks at the moment.
Yeah, so I mean, it's going to run like a peach looking at those graphics. That's not
the old Craig.
So the only other specs here to compare really are it says backwards compatibility. We knew that anyway. Expandable storage. They both got expandable storage up to 1 terabyte. However, the actual storage in the unit itself is half that of the Series X. So the Series S only comes with half a terabyte. So that's 512 gigabytes of custom SSD storage, which is not a lot by today's standards. A AAA game might be upwards of 100 gigabytes these days. So that might only be 3 or 4 AAA games, and that isn't huge. So that's, and considering it's a digital only unit, that is going to be a sticking point for a lot of people. So you're probably going to have to invest in a expansion card. It's doable if you've got great internet. You can download and download new games in an hour or so. If you've got really fast internet, it's not a problem. But for the majority of people,
I think with the S, it's going to be a good little secondary console. So if you've got like your PS5 as your primary thing, and you're not a PC player, so as we said, you might as well just play them on PC. If you're primarily a Sony player for all those exclusives, but you only like a couple of games here and there for Microsoft, like your Gears of War, Halo, and Forza, they're like the big ones. Yeah. Then you can probably fit those 3 games with plenty of room to spare on the S, and that'll kind of tide you over for just those little ones, rather than being your primary thing. I feel like I don't imagine many people are going to have the Series S as their primary one, unless of course you maybe you can't afford the other one, or like you're a kid and your parents, they can't afford the proper one, so they've gone for the more cost effective one.
Well, it's an ideal proposition for beginner. It's people who are just getting into gaming, youngsters and that. You know what I mean? Totally. It's for parents who are like, I know they like games, but what shall I get little Timmy? I know this is cheap enough. It's next gen. So again, good proposition for a lot of people, I would say. But for me, it doesn't sound like a next generation bit of hardware. But they're trying to upsell it, right? I read the post where they were trying to big it up. It's all marketing spiel. But the headline is, the Series S will deliver performance and experiences well beyond the raw specs. Of course it will. Of course it will. We've heard that before. You were talking about terafloppage a couple of years ago with the Xbox One X, and now, it's gonna. They've changed the tune. It's gonna
teraflops don't matter until they do, because we've got 1.21 gigawatts in the Xbox Series X. That they matter there, don't they?
But in order to upsell it, in case you weren't convinced already, they're saying that it has 4 times the processing power of an Xbox One. Well, the Xbox One is 7 years old. I mean, why aren't you comparing it to the One X? Because it doesn't compare very favorably versus the One X. It's got three times the GPU performance of the Xbox One. Yes, but it's got worse performance to the Xbox One X. You're not comparing the most recent console. You're comparing a really, really old console. Let's compare it to the very original Xbox, shall we? And just make it seem even better. Nobody's buying it. Next generation AMD RDNA 2 graphics architecture supports experiences up to 120 FPS. We've already talked about that. Supports doesn't mean that all games will come at 120 FPS, if any. Support for hardware accelerated RTX ray tracing. So our ray tracing supported. So that's good. Talk about the storage. And then there's 40 times the I/O bandwidth of an Xbox One. Again, not comparing with the most recent or up-to-date high-spec console, which is the One X. And then they say the primary differences between the Xbox Series X and the Series S is in resolution. So we've talked about that. 1440p, 60 frames per second on the S. 4K 60 frames per second on the X. But they do say the primary difference, which is a very nice way of saying there are other differences in performance, but they're just not going to detail them here. Essentially, there are more differences than this primary one, but the primary one is just the resolution. So again, they're choosing their words carefully because it's just marketing spiel. And until Digital Foundry get their hands on the units themselves and compare the games and see how they perform, that's when we'll know for sure whether these things are actually worth the price. And coming as a PC gamer myself, I'm probably not going to pick any of these up. I might get a Series S for the kids at some point because it's a decent value proposition. It might be a Christmas present or something if they're into that. And that's the only way I'd probably buy a Series S. But as a PC gamer, like you said, that I get the subscription to the Game Pass on the PC, so I get all the games. Microsoft games day one, and it's just more convenient for me to play those games on a PC. So it's not for me, but I see it as a very decent. And I think the prices, are really selling it for me in terms of the appeal. I think the fact that it's coming under $500 and there's an option for a $250 one for next generation, or $300 in there, 250 quid. I think it's really good, and I think that PS5 or Sony will be scratching their heads at this moment. Like, what do they do now? Because there was talk of that being upwards of like $700. There's talks of that being really, really expensive because it's an all singing, all dancing. You've got super high tech SSD in it or whatever. So what do they do now?
I mean, they have to come out and say something soon. I mean, the X the Series X and Series S, they both launch on November the 10th, which is, it's 2 months away today. Today is September the 10th when we're recording. So it's 2 months away, and we still haven't heard... We've only just heard the Xbox prices. We have heard zilch about the PlayStation 1. There's all kinds of rumors. Every week there's, it might be this price based on this manufacturer making this estimate based on their different components and whatnot. Then there's people saying that they might be selling it at a loss for the first few years, like they did with, I think, was it the PS3 because it was too expensive to make and really awkward. Then people saying, they're gonna have to subsidize it some other way by having I can't remember what it is. It's that's why they've taken out the disk drive of one to save pennies there, and they've taken out bits of this and this and this. So they've got to do something. Sony has to do something, because the gauntlet has been laid down, and if Sony come out and say it's going to be 600 quid, then it's game over. The amount of people who will just buy the Xbox Series X instead, because for most people, it comes down to just the numbers. Obviously, the devout, super loyal Sony ponies will buy the Sony one, and the Xbox will buy the Xbox One. But for most ordinary people who are just I just want the most cost-effective option. It'll shut the kid up for 5 minutes. The Xbox Series X looks quite intimidating and big and boxy, so I'll get the smaller, the white one, and it'll look nice under my TV next to the Freeview box and the DVD player and all that shit.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they come up with in terms of price, because I can't see them getting away with anything more than $600. It's $500 is the Series X. If they come up with anything more than $600 for the PlayStation 5, I think that's a loser. I think they might get away with six. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry. Go on.
Yeah, they might get away with $600, but I think my prediction would be something between 650 and 550 and 600. My prediction here is I'll nail it down. $650. That's what I reckon, and 600 quid. No.
Yeah, I think that's got to be the top limit, and that'll put some people off, but not so much that it's going to be a real cincher. Because $50, that's 50 quid, whatever. Yeah, that's one game. If you if you try and think about it in comparative terms,
less than one game for next generation. Apparently, 70 quid.
Jesus Christ, what a joke.
There you go.
But I think one thing that Sony needs to be aware of in their pricing is that, according to a lot of its specs, not all of them technically, but a lot of them, it is a technically inferior machine because of the whole the gigawattage. I can't stand the word teraflop. It's just good. It's silly to me.
Flippity flop.
It's got this fancy pantsy SSD, which will take your wife out to dinner and wine her and dine her and do everything you want it to. But is it as powerful? Fundamentally, no. And then it becomes a question of the games. And obviously, Sony's won that this generation, and that's going to be a huge advantage going forward. But if it's so much more expensive for something that is perceived to be inferior in just the console itself, they're not going to get away with it. No one's going to buy it. I don't know.
I think they can charge a premium just because of the games catalog. If you think about the way that Apple charge a premium because they're perceived as being the premium product. I think if Sony think of themselves like that, they're the premium product. They've got the best first party games. They can probably charge a premium in that way.
But I think they part of that argument comes undone because they haven't really shown any of the bankable exclusives going forward for next gen, apart from Horizon. What's the new one? Horizon Forbidden West. Because there's the Spider-Man thing. Great, awesome. But it's piggybacking on the original one because it's this sort of expansion / spin-off. So it's still not quite all the way there. There's no God of Wars. There's no new Uncharted or any of those brand recognized IPs that people will just buy, which I think might hold them back on being, we've got all the best games. But they're last gen games.
Yeah.
So
but there you go. So sorry if you finished that.
Oh yeah.
Therefore, therefore, if you finish with your waffling there, Henry, that sums up all the information that we've got on next gen, and that gives you a bunch of speculation too. So in case you were interested in what we thought, there you have it. If you've got any thoughts of your own, leave them down in the comments below. What do you think the price will be? How long do you think Sony will leave it for for the announcement of the PlayStation 5? Are you interested in this proposition of a Xbox Series S versus the Series X? Are you just not interested in Microsoft consoles at all because you're a Sony pony or whatever? Let us know what your thoughts are down in the comments below. Let's move on to our next topic of conversation. We've had a brief update on Skull and Bones. This is the Ubisoft game that was announced in E3 in 2017, which is the pirate game that we're all waiting for and excited for. It was originally set to release in Q3/Q4 of 2018, so we're already talking 2 years late, and we've had an update, which was yesterday at the time of recording. Basically, the production on the game is again in full swing with a new vision, which is good to hear. I'll just read the blog post, actually. I'll go run through it quickly. So this is from Elizabeth Pellin, the creative director at Ubisoft, working on the game. She says, first and foremost, thank you to our fans for showing tremendous patience. We know you've all been waiting for news, so I'm thrilled to confirm this. Production of Skull and Bones has been in full swing with a new vision. Our teams at Ubisoft Singapore are fully committed to launching the game, as well as, well, they should be because they're getting paid for it, as well as supporting it for many years to come. While our game won't be presented at Ubisoft Forward on September the 10th, which is happening today at the time of recording, we're currently working on plans to present Skull and Bones sometime in the future, and it will be worth the wait. Okay. Many of you have been wondering why we've had to postpone our launch. The answer is that we simply needed more time. We dreamt something bigger for Skull and Bones, and these ambitions naturally came with bigger challenges. These difficulties resulted in necessary delays for our game. Critical questions needed to be addressed over the past several months, such as how do we modernize I thought it said monetize then. How do we modernize the classic pirate fantasy?
They don't need to ask that as a question. They already know.
Right, they already know that, and it's Ubisoft. How do we ensure a more immersive and visceral experience? Oh, these fucking buzzwords that these marketers throw around. Visceral experience. Fantasy. Classic pirate fantasy. Bullshit, innit? How do we create cool and memorable moments in game? For most of these questions to be answered, it was clear that we needed more development time. So it was going to be generic and bland and bullshit, Ubisoft game. Now it's going to be slightly less because we're going to get an immersive and visceral experience and with cool and memorable moments. Basically, they just make it multiplayer and make us have a good time with our friends, essentially. That's
make your own fun.
And it goes on. As Skull and Bones evolved from its original idea to what it is now, it was also necessary to have some fresh eyes join the team. I was one of those people when I joined as Skull and Bones creative director a little over 2 years ago. I have been part of the game's core team that leads many of the talented developers at Ubisoft Singapore. Since then, many new talents have joined our global crew.
So even there, she's creative director, was Elizabeth Pelham. All right, cool. Creative director, very, very important role. But if you've not been there from the very beginning, that immediately doesn't speak to the most smooth running of production cycles.
No.
Because it was announced in, 2017 E3,
yeah.
Which means it would have been in development for probably a year or two prior to that. But she only arrived on the scene 2 years ago, so in 2018.
Yeah, and when it was due to launch.
Yeah, so, I mean, maybe it's better now. Maybe things are running much more smoothly now, and this is what they would like us to believe following this blog post. But prior to that, it must have been a proper fucking shit show. Because we heard nothing. There's like one extended pre-alpha gameplay section of the guy like pottering about on the boat and doing some combat, and a CG trailer. That's it. There's fuck all else.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of those highly anticipated ones because everyone says that the best pirate game ever made was one of the Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Although it was supposed to be an Assassin's Creed game, it's a decent pirate game, and everyone wants Ubisoft to mimic the gameplay in that in order to
the assassin stuff in that game was some of the weakest part. All the pirate stuff was great.
So there's a lot of expectation for this game. So anyway, it concludes saying the following: from our teams in Ubisoft Berlin, Chengdu, Kiev, Paris, and the Philippines, it is a truly It's truly a team effort. The dedication and passion of our developers continue to fuel our drive to make Skull and Bones something all of us can be proud of. Our confidence in each other's talents is what motivates us to push Skull and Bones towards the finish line. It's nothing to do with the money that Ubisoft are paying with you. That isn't good. That isn't motivation enough. We're proud of,
for a AAA game probably pays pretty well.
I can imagine. Yeah, Ubisoft, I can imagine. We're proud of the work we've done, and we hope you will be too when you see some of the Skull and Bones at our comeback next year. Until then, on behalf of everyone at Skull and Bones, keep safe, and we'll see you again soon. So it doesn't really say much. It's just that this game's been rebooted essentially, and they've got a new version for it. They weren't happy with how it was going, but we know that about Ubisoft. Igamo came out after Breakpoint and said, we're going to have to change the way we do games because they're all generic cookie cutter bullshit games. And we all agreed. And so hopefully this won't be a generic cookie cutter bullshit game. But what can they do with it? What do you want? What do we want from it, Henry? What do we... Black Flag?
I mean, it sounds so easy. I'm no game developer or anything like that, but it sounds so easy. Just take the stuff from Black Flag. You've built it. You own that game. You own all of its codes and resources and assets. Just take all of that worked and just do it again.
Do it again,
better. I mean, you're Ubisoft. You're really good at rehashing games over and over again. That's very much in your wheelhouse. Yeah. But evidently that's not happened. Clearly, this seems to be that they've at least tried to do something different, which is always, I mean, up for that, even if you don't quite reach your ambitions, at least you're going for something. But something's clearly gone wrong. And they're restarting, probably not for the first time. I would imagine there's probably been a few other sort of semi-rebirths and redrafts been ongoing in the game. But then I really don't like blog posts like this because it's all like waffly, oh, we have such a vision, we're going to do this, with nothing like tangible. But then at the end they come out and say, oh, where is it? We're proud of the work we've done and we hope you'll be there to see more of Skull and Bones at our comeback next year. And it's currently September 2020 and we're not going to see any more of this game, which we've seen piss all of for the past few years anyway. We're going to come out and say, we're still going, but now we're going to keep you waiting again. I don't see from a marketing perspective, I'm sure it's to keep the brand relevant and keep it active and all that. But from a gamer's point of view and from practicality in actually engaging with a product, what's the point in this? Just show us something if you have something to show, and don't announce a game years and years before it's even ready. I mean, obviously there's been development problems and it's been delayed and what have you, but if it's not ready, don't announce it. And I don't know, I want to be excited about this. I literally watched Pirates of the Caribbean the other day, just fancied like a chill, easy film, put on in the background and like read something as well. And then I said to my girlfriend, I was like, man, I just want a really good pirate game. There hasn't been one for years. Black Flag was great, but I want something new, cool story and everything. And I was like, Skull and Bones. Yeah, that's never going to fucking happen. At this point, it might not even come out.
Well, I mean, we are lacking a lot of decent pirate games. I mean, obviously, you got the Microsoft. What even is that called?
Sea of Thieves?
Sea of Thieves. But that's a multiplayer game. I'm not interested in a multiplayer game. And when they said that this was like a battle arena type of game where it was just multiplayer,
I
lost interest.
Yeah,
I lost interest in it because you know what to expect from a Ubisoft multiplayer online only game. However, this kind of gives me a little bit of hope that if they've changed up the vision for it, that it's not just going to be one of those games where it's just made from milking you for microtransaction money, essentially. Oh, I've got all these skins, look how awesome pirate you can be. All you got to do is pay $5. It's like, come on, that's not what the games, that's what games should be about. And I think that Ubisoft have lent too far into that side of the business strategy, and I think hopefully they're pulling themselves back now from the brink of walking the plank, and they're hopefully going to throw something single player in there, like you said, Black Flag type of thing, and that's my hope for it. Again, you and other household members won't be able to drop in on your devices. Alexa, shut up. Thank you.
Well,
wow. Sorry about that rude interruption there. I can't get away from him. Like there's women, I share this house with 3 women, and then I've got like Alexa's just interrupting me all the time. I can't get a word out edgeways. That's why I'm so I'm talking so quickly on this podcast, because that's what happens. Like if I don't get my words out, I get interrupted by a mechanical woman at that. That's a joke, by the way. Don't get offended. So we'll have to wait until next year to see what they come up with, which I don't know. It's good and bad, I guess.
Well, you're saying you're hopeful. I mean, I always want games to be good. No one wants a game to be bad, but this means this blog post means nothing to me. Yeah. Show me something to make me believe that it's different. But I mean, until I see something fucking next year, it's just nothing to me.
It's nothing. You're nothing to me.
You are not. I'm not excited. I'm not dreading it. You're just in empty space.
It's a AAA game from Ubisoft. There's zero excitement, anticipation there for me. There's hope. Obviously, there's always hope, because without hope, we'd be miserable old bastards. But many would say that's what we are anyway. But let's move on to the next segment, which is the community segment. So, as many of you know, we are here only by the support of our patrons on Patreon and on YouTube as well, the YouTube channel members. So it's with great thanks to everybody who does support us on patreon.com/prettygoodgaming, because without you guys supporting us, we would not be able to continue to produce content on a daily, weekly basis. So with that in mind, we do like to thank everybody who signs up every week. We've had one new sign up this week, Sebastian. He just became a $1 member, and every single dollar does make a difference. So thank you very much, Sebastian. And to anyone else who's considering support, or has ever considered supporting us in the past, it really makes a difference. It's just eternal gratitude from us for your support. Patreon goes down, so do we, essentially. If Patreon's gone, so are we. We can't afford to continue because of how things are on YouTube. With that said, I do want to make a call out before we get into the questions this week. For anybody who's interested in fantasy footy, the new league is upon us, and we do a fantasy football. I know you're not interested in Henry. We could see
not
that.
give less of a shit.
We can see that. Let me just get me through, and then you can say what you like. Fantasy footy sign-ups. We've only got 3, I think, sign-ups for this season. What I might do is open it up to the public too, because we've only just opened the Discord up to the public. So what I'll probably do is make it public to get more people in, make it more exciting. So if you fancy yourself as a bit of a fantasy football manager, and you want to take on the likes of Evans 11, which is the name of my team, then you head over to the Patreon, to the Discord. I'll leave a link in the description to get to the Discord. You can get to if you're not a patron, you can get to the public area of the Discord. And I'll add the Fantasy Football League as the patron area too, so you can all join in, whether you're patron member or not, just to spice things up, makes things interesting for this new season. I think I got second in the first season, I got third in the second season. So top 3 finishes in a row on my first ever 2 seasons in the Premier, in the Fantasy Footy League. That's not bad. I mean, I'm quite happy with myself there. I'm pushing for the top spot this year when I get to the Champions League or whatever, but we'll see. So Henry, if you've got no objections, I'm going to carry on talking, if that's all right with you. And
by all means,
we're going to jump into the Metal Shark quiz of the week. We always have a quiz from Metal Shark, and he's not let us down this week either. So we have a quiz, and I think this is one for both of us, right?
Where are we? Okay. It's a head-to-head this week. Do you want me to read it?
Absolutely.
Okay. For this week's quiz, we have a head-to-head with a litigious theme. I'm not entirely sure what litigious means. It's a game of higher or lower for the largest gaming-related payout from a lawsuit. Litigious. That's the one. That makes more sense. Please note, I have phrased the questions and answers as the court ruled it, so PGG are reading this mostly verbatim from public record accounts and are off the hook for slander, etc. if the court ruled incorrectly. Okay? For a starting figure, we'll use the alleged amount in controversy epic. For a starting figure, we'll use the alleged amount in controversy Epic alleges Apple has cost them, which is $75,000. So, the first one. Did it cost Acclaim more when they cancelled development of the game Mary-Kate and Ashley in Action? Did it cost Acclaim more money than $75,000 when they cancelled the game Mary-Kate and Ashley in Action? And action is all capitals, so it's Mary-Kate and Ashley in action, you know? So,
action.
If you wanna be disappointed about cancelled games, that's got to be at the top of your list, right?
I'm going to say more for this because $75,000 is not a drop in the ocean for these big companies. And if you're talking about development of a game, I know this is a lawsuit or whatever. I'm just going to say I'm going to say higher. Liar. I'm going to say more.
Yeah, I was going to say higher because the average game development cost is more than that. Well, I mean, I would assume. I don't have any real numbers, so I'm going to say more as well. More at $4,770,966.32.
Not quite, Henry. 477,000. Not 4 million.
What did I say?
You said 4 million.
Oh,
so it's 477,000.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's two numbers here because there's a bit in brackets as well. Where I think my brain just got scrambled about all the different things because I'm stupid.
It didn't take much to scramble your brain, let's be honest.
No, exactly. As I pointed out in my Avengers review, I've got a monkey brain. So on top, it's 177,966.32 in royalties and 300,000 penalty fee. Oh, golly.
There you go. That is a lot of money. So I think we're both on one there. So you're going to answer this next one first because I answered this one first. So question 2 is, did it cost Take-Two Interactive more when they knowingly put hidden, in quotes, hot coffee content in the Grand Theft Auto San Andreas? So the hot coffee was where there was like a hooker thing where you get to...
Yeah, it's a sex minigame, isn't it? And they got in a lot of...
minigame.
Well, a lot of sort of pretend trouble because it's not in the game, but you can dig for it and find it with data mining and all that sort of stuff.
So did it cost them more when they knowingly put hidden hot coffee content in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas?
I mean, what would it have cost them? Maybe they got sued for it, perhaps by some disgruntled parents whose kids were playing a game that's 18 rated anyway. I don't think it cost them more. I think it cost less than 477,000.
Me too. I think I'm going to go less because 477,000 is a lot of thousands, so I say less. Oh my goodness, it is more at $20 million. That's $35 per person in a class action lawsuit. That's a lot of money.
What's the bit? I mean, maybe I don't know enough about the ins and outs of this, but from what my understanding, GTA San Andreas, open world GTA game. It's violent. There's a lot of swearing. There's sex and drugs and all that sort of shit. It's an 18 rated. So why does it matter if there's a sex minigame that people can sue? I mean, I guess you'd argue that it's like deceptive product and you didn't know it was in there, and then that's probably what the lawyers would go with. But I'm like, it's a fucking 18 rated game. Get over it. If you don't,
that's true. I've just done the sums though. I mean, it's America, isn't it? You're not allowed sex. You're allowed guns and gore and violence, but sex. Oh my god! How dare you? 574,000 people in that class action lawsuit all got $35 each.
And that's funny that they got set up. But the question is, how many of those people were like your middle class suburban soccer moms who bought it for little Timmy, thinking it's just they're just driving, they just drive, it's a racing game. But nope.
There you go.
Well,
so that is 1 out of 2 for both of us, and you are to read the next one.
Okay. Did it cost Universal Studios more when it filed a lawsuit against Nintendo for copyright infringement in 1982 for King Kong, when it turned out they didn't own the rights to King Kong?
Right, so this is a weird one because Universal Studios filed a lawsuit against Nintendo, but they didn't actually. It turned out they didn't own the rights to King Kong.
So Universal, the film studio, tried to sue Nintendo, the game company, for using King Kong, even though Universal doesn't own King Kong, or didn't at the time.
Would it cost them $20 million to file a lawsuit? I don't think so. I'm going to say less.
No, surely it's less, right?
Less at $1.8 million. So it wasn't in the million ballpark, but $1.8 million we're talking here too. So I think we both got that right. That's 2 out of 3 so far. Next up, question 4. Did it cost James Burt more when 24-year-old Australian man managed to buy an early version of New Super Mario Brothers for the Wii and illegally uploaded the game to the internet? The file was downloaded more than 50,000 times in 5 days, the week before it was set to be released in November 2009. So somebody got the game early, uploaded it to the internet, and faced a lawsuit. But was it more or less than $1.8 million, Henry?
I reckon Nintendo would have fucking annihilated this guy.
Yeah.
So I reckon it cost him more than $1 million. But then again, he's just a guy. It's probably one of those where they sued him to fuck and charged him millions, but it's not like he's actually expected to follow through. There's a word for it, but I can't remember what it is. But yeah, I reckon that's got to be more than $1 million. 1.8 million.
I would say more. I've just done a quick calculation here on Google. The 20, just my rationale is the 50,000, if it was downloaded 50,000 times and you're talking $50 for the game, then they could claim that they've lost $2.5 million in revenue. So that's probably what that's probably the figure they've come up with. So I'm going to say, it's going to be more based on that. And it's actually less. It's $1.5 million he was sued for. That is a lot of dollars for getting a game early and uploading it to the internet. Oh my God.
For just one guy. He's not like a corporation or anything, is he? To my knowledge, he's just a bloke who got it and, I'll whack it on the internet. There's no way they actually made him pay it. There's no way.
Oh, I'm pretty sure they would have. How can he get away with not paying it? I don't know.
Well, there's different things you can do. Like there is a specific word for it, but I can't remember it is.
I'm bankrupt. I got no money. Anyway, that's two of 4 for both of us. Next up is question 5. An issue.
Okay. Did it cost National Collegiate Athletic Association and Electronic Arts more when college football and basketball players' names and likenesses were illegally used in video games for years? God, I hope it did. Because fuck them.
I'm going to say more.
They can
because
afford it, yeah.
If it was, we're talking over a span of years and there's a lot of people involved there, I'm going to say more.
Yeah, I reckon so. And college football and college basketball have a lot of money to play with. There's a lot of money in that sort of cottage industry. So, I reckon it's more than 1.5 million. More at 60 million.
Wow, was there?
60 million. And again, there's all of these players. So there's hundreds of players, and they've been doing it for years. And they can...
Yeah.
You can kind of put a more solid figure on it, especially if, this college football player then went on to, go to the NFL properly and everything. So, yeah, I mean, that totally makes sense. That sounds very reasonable. Fuck you.
Fuck you, EA. That's 3 out of 5 for both of us, and we're on to question number 6. And the question is, did it cost Silicon Knights more when in 2005, after purchasing the rights to use Unreal 3 in their upcoming game, Too Human and seeing it up against Gears of War at E3 in 2007. The developer accused Epic of diverting resources in order to make its game rather than working to improve Unreal 3. Silicon Knights claimed it had built its own engine and Epic was unusable. However, the court found pieces of Epic's Unreal 3 engine in Silicon Knights' own engine. This infringement on copyrighted material allowed Epic to be awarded damages as well as the destruction of all Silicon's games using the copied engine, including Too Human, X-Men Destiny, and more. Oh my God. Didn't know about that.
Oh, yeah. They just got annihilated.
Yeah.
Because they shot themselves in the foot, didn't they? Based on that.
Yeah. So did it cost them more or less than $60 million?
60 million is a massive number, and I don't know if that was more than that.
You going more?
No, I'm going to go less. Not quite 60 million.
Well, I'm going less too. So again, we're playing it safe, I guess. And it is less at 9.2 million. I wouldn't have thought that someone like Silicon Knights would have had 60 million to spare. So that's my rationale there. 9.2 million.
And with the whole company going completely bust and all their games being destroyed, I think that's punishment enough rather than an additional 60 million on top.
Well, there you go. What we're on, 4 out of 6 each, and we're on to question 7, and it's you up.
Okay. Did it cost Big Fish Games more when it violated Washington state law governing online gambling because chips used in its freemium game Big Fish Casino represented something of value?
Did it cost Big Fish Games more when it violated Washington state law? $9.2 million. I'm going to say, I mean, you're talking about gambling here.
And breaking state law.
Yeah.
So it's literally illegal in that state.
I'm going to say it's cost them more than $9.2 million dollars.
Yeah, I kind of agree, but I think we've been the same for so long. I'm going to say it didn't cost that much. I'm going to say less.
Well, you're wrong to go against me. More at $155 million. Oh my God.
I couldn't have been more wrong.
That is an astronomical amount of millions. I mean, $155 million. That was a lot of money. And that puts me on 5 in the lead, and Henry's down to 4 out of 7 and 3 to go.
So be it.
And you're up.
Is it me again?
Was it? Did you?
Yeah, I think I did the last one. This is you now.
My mistake. Question 8 then. Did it cost Love ROMs and Love Retro more when Nintendo's complaint to an Arizona federal court was upheld against a married couple who ran the LoveRoms.com and LoveRetro.co sites?
Not a fucking chance that cost them more than 155 million.
I'm going to say low.
There's no way.
I'm going to say lower too, yeah, because it's a lot of millions. There's 155, so I'm going to say lower. It's less at 12 million, so we both got that one correct. I'm on 6, you're on 5, 2 to go.
Okay. Did it cost Sony more when it agreed to pay users of its services impacted by its massive 2011 data breach and nearly month-long outage of its PlayStation Network and Curiosity music service in 2011? So, huge data breach, PlayStation Network's down, and so was Curiosity Music in 2011.
Yes.
Did it cost more than 12 million? I reckon it probably did.
I reckon it costs more because there's so many users and it's going to be a class action again, so it's got to be more than 12 million.
Yeah, it's got to be.
Well, only just more. 15 million. There you go. So I am on 7. You are on 6. 1 to go. You're asking, I'm answering first. So, Henry.
Right.
Go for it.
Did it cost Electronic Arts more when it settled with game artists in 2004 for uncompensated forced overtime?
Whoo! This is a tricky one. So you've got to go opposite.
And it's 2004 EA as well, who wasn't the same beast it is today.
Whatever I say, Henry, you realise that you have to go opposite to me because you've no way of winning if you go the same answer as me, and you've got all
I can do is equalise. I can't win.
So the pressure's on me to get this right.
I can go for whatever I want because Well,
I've got to answer first. See,
doesn't matter.
I've got to answer first.
So what, you're going to try and bluff it?
No.
That I get it wrong anyway.
You have to go opposite me, is what I'm saying, because it doesn't make sense logically to agree with me.
No, but if I can't win, it doesn't matter. Well, what's the point in drawing?
Okay. If you look at it that way, by all means, answer the same as me, Henry. That means I've won anyway. Anyway. Did it cost them more? I would say it cost them more. Uncompensated forced overtime is pretty bad, right? 15 million doesn't sound like, I don't know, how many game artists did they fleece? 15 million. Ooh, I'm going to go less. I'm going to go less because I'm thinking how many games artists can work for them? It can't be that many. It can't be a huge class action like it was with a couple of this. I'm going to go less with this one. Less than 50 million.
Well, I'm going to go more just to upset the apple cart.
Oh, no, it's more at 15.6. Oh, I'm devastated. I had the right answer in the
previous one was 15 million. This is 15.6 million. That is so close.
I had the right answer and then I bottled it, is what I did. I lost my bottle.
You have crafted a great quiz here with that little
Congratulations.
Sizzle, a little bit of salt on the top at the end.
It couldn't have been more dramatic if we tried. But thanks, Metal Shark, as always, for your dedication and devotion to doing the quiz every week. I'm sure we all appreciated it. And let us know down below what your scores were for this week, whether you got them all right or whether you bested our scores of 7. And with that, let's move on to the next question. Do you want to read this?
Okay, yeah, go on. Durlock Sergio. While the question is for both, we know Henry is not particularly a fan of the genre. After hearing Gaz rambling about Crusader Kings 3, I wonder, as an English and a Welsh, do you guys play Total War or Crusader Kings games with your respective faction? Opinions of Total War Saga, Thrones of Britannia. So, do you play as the Welsh faction in Crusader Kings or Total War? I'm pretty sure you've discussed this before.
Absolutely. That's my first choice always, is to put right what once went wrong, to use Quantum Leap as a reference. So, obviously, Welsh were oppressed by the English for so many years. They teach that in our schools, in case you didn't know.
Because it happened.
Yeah. They killed our kings and took the lands for their own, and then put up big castles, and then just occupied us, and they have done to this very day. Even, we're still the underlings of the country. However, yeah, that does make me want to play as Wales for a long time. Whenever I play these games, Total War Saga, Thrones of Britannia. I've talked about this recently because I went back to it. When they announced Crusader Kings 3, I was like, I've got an itch. I just need to play in that period and play Thrones of Britannia. And I did play it, and I think I talked about it in one of the podcasts. It might have been a couple of months ago now. But I actually played that as King Alfred. I didn't play as Wales back then. But yeah, I have on many occasions taken over the British Isles as a Welshman. And I probably will do too again at some point. But yeah, I do like Thrones of Britannia, not as much as Crusader Kings 3. But yeah, and Welsh is the best. So there.
Well, there you go. I haven't played the game, so I can't say what I would do. But I don't. You're more patriotic than me about Wales. I don't really give a shit. I've spoken before. I don't really get patriotism. I had no choice in being English.
Because you're English, though, isn't it?
Just because I'm
get
already
it if
on
you
the
had
scoreboard.
Anyway, no, I'm good there. Thanks for the question, Sergio. And thanks for driving that wedge in between me and Henry even further in. Next up...
it's barely a wedge because you give a shit. I still don't.
Okay, Henry. Okay. Let's move on anyway to the next question. And this is again from Metal Shark. And he asks, do you see the increased prices for next generation console games forcing an increase in the price of PC games? So they've said that the next generation games is going to be $10 more or something for AAA games. So we're going from $60 to $70. Is that going to force the PC game prices to be higher too? What do you think?
At the moment, it's not every game, right? It's only a couple have come out and said it, and it's all the usual suspects. It's your NBA 2K21 and Call of Duty, what's the new one? Cold War, Call of Duty Cold War. They've come out and said both of those are at a premium on the next level up, which is, obviously bullshit, because we've been told for years that no one ever believed, but we've been told that the reason for all of these microtransactions and stuff is to supplement the increased game development costs so that they don't have to increase the base price of the game. But now these two games have gone and done it anyway, and they're going to be full of all the microtransaction bollocks anyway. So I don't know, it depends if it's a trend that's adopted across the board. Yeah. If your big hitters like your Sony exclusives and your Microsoft exclusives start doing it, then perhaps. But I think the PC as a marketplace has way more variety in terms of pricing anyway. But I guess maybe that's just because of the variety of games, because you can get a game for like a $5 on Steam, and yeah, it might be pretty shit. But
that's true.
Variable pricing is something I'm all about anyway. If you can make a really good case for why your game should cost me £60, if you can convince me, then yeah, I'll buy it. But it's going to take a lot of convincing if it's going to have a bunch of games as a service bollocks in it.
Exactly, and I think that's it. The point for me in terms of my opinion about the price increase, I mean, I don't mind it so much. As long as the game's worth it, they'll sell it. If the game isn't worth it, don't buy it. I mean, don't get angry about the prices. Just don't buy it. Vote with your wallet. Just don't buy the game. If you don't think it's worth it, do not buy it.
It's really easy.
Yeah, it's a simple value proposition for me. A game that you will play for a long time and you get a lot of enjoyment out of, and you know it's going to be well supported, and you know that you're not throwing your money away to buy a store, essentially, where you can continue purchasing other parts of the game. That just doesn't make any sense to me. That's why I'm totally put off by these games as service type games. So $70, I wouldn't even entertain that. However, if it's a game I know I'm going to play for ages and ages and really enjoy it, then I would buy it because it's worth it for me personally, and for everyone it's always their own choice. But do I see them forcing an increase in the price of PC games? I don't see it so much as forcing an increase. I think they choose themselves, don't they? So, again, these AAA companies will price it however they like. The NBA will be $70 on, or $70 on PC. I can foresee that happening. That's for sure. So I don't know. I definitely think that PC games are going to go up in price, just like the consoles are, if that was your question, Malshark. And then we have the final question this week from Earthwind Ben.
We've only got a couple this week. It's quite a short one. A movie question this week. Considering it's still in print and available on streaming services, could you see Tropic Thunder ever getting made in today's world, despite even RDJ's superb acting? So Tropic Thunder, if you haven't seen it, it's a really fucking good comedy movie. It's really silly. Robert Downey Jr., who you might know as Iron Man, he plays a character who is like, they're all actors in a film. It's a film within a film type thing.
Yeah.
And he's an actor who's like super pretentious, and I'm going deep into my role. I'm going to get in that headspace, like hyper method. So for this character in the film within a film, he is a very, very stereotypical Vietnam War movie black army sergeant, and it got a lot of criticism in the media because, in case you weren't aware, Robert Downey Jr. is a white man. However, everyone clearly not everyone, because most people seem to understand, but a lot of like the media and stuff seem to miss that his entire character is a satire on pretentious Oscar baity actors. But they were like, no, he's doing blackface. But it's like, well, not really, if you look at it in the context of the character, and that's the whole fucking point. He's poking fun at that. But not a fucking chance is that movie getting made today. Not a chance. No one would. Well, it might get made, but no one would go see it because the media would
the outrage
shit on it. But then again, maybe they'd have the opposite effect, and because all of the media shit on it, everyone's like, "Well, it must be a good movie then if they don't like it." So we'll go watch it.
I mean, it's a shame that you can't you can't even do things like that satirically these days, just to raise the important issues. And just to have the conversation. You're not, you can't do that. Oh no, because it's disrespectful. Well, I don't know. It can't be. It won't be done. It would never be done today. That's for sure. Which is a shame. I'm not saying I support people wearing blackface. That's the opposite.
Oh no, of
what
course
I'm saying. It's that. I don't know. Having conversations doesn't hurt anybody, right? And analyzing situations and having a reasonable conversation about what's good and what's bad and what's right and what's wrong, that doesn't hurt anybody. And I think this type of movie and this type of thing, generates those types of conversations. You don't have to get upset about things and all the time.
Watching Robert Downey Jr. talk about that role is really interesting because he's like, so many people told me not to do it, but then that kind of made me realize that I had to do it for this, and this. It's a really interesting little pocket of history, but there's no way that movie's getting made today.
It's not getting done today, that's for sure. Not in this culture of cancel culture. And there you go. That is the end of the questions for this week. And I guess there's nothing left to do except introduce the next segment, which is the Triggered FaNbOy comment of the week. The Triggered FaNbOy was XRider09 this week, and he's talking about, I think it was on last week's podcast where we were talking about the gear on Avengers,
okay.
right?
If it's in the podcast, I might not have seen it because there was a few in my actual review of it that I thought were contenders when you said you had one. But,
well, I didn't actually. I mean, you could by all means. We'll have a feature today with like just all the triggered comments from this week. But this is one. Maybe you found a better one. But he says the gear is great in the game. When you haven't got halfway through the story, you can't even talk about endgame loot. There's so many gameplay changing loot. It's not just stat changes like you make out. You've not played the game.
I mean,
there you go. Judge.
You have done nothing. There's not an argument there. You've not like made a case and convinced me
the gear is great in the game, Henry. I don't care what you say. The gear is great. I won't provide any evidence for how great the gear is, but it's great. You haven't got halfway through the game, so you don't know. And the loot changes endgame. Even if it did change endgame, it means that the rest of the game was shit anyway. Still, it doesn't redeem it just because the end game improves.
There's the top tier loot, which I think they call exotic. I haven't got any of that shit yet, and maybe that's going to change it. But I'm not grinding my life away to get that and then say, oh yeah, no, it means nothing. So, I mean, it can boost a couple of numbers, or it can give you this status effect, or this, resistance to frost damage or whatever. But it's all fucking superfluous bollocks. Like, why? I don't need it. It means nothing. It's just boosting a thing.
You've not played the game.
Although I will give you, it's at the point now where if I press the button to just also equip the highest level stuff, that at the moment that's almost always a bad move because it'll screw up my my build or wait, hold on. Is my camera stopped recording? Oh,
boom.
It's back.
You're back.
Okay.
All right.
It's probably going to scream at me saying I've run out of space or something again because I can't remember if I deleted it or not. I might have done. I might not have. Yeah, so it's at the point now where when you press the button to automatically equip your highest level stuff, that's actually not a good thing because it'll mess up stuff or be like, oh, Iron Man, we want him to be, this is going to make him really good at punching things. I'm like, that's the last thing I want to be doing as Iron Man. He can fly and shoot rockets. That's what he's for. That's the way I'm playing him. But yeah, it's nothing. It's just whatever stuff. It's stuff.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, obviously, XRider09 disagrees with your opinion about loot. So that's fine. However, it's not fair to say you've not played the game or say that the gear is great in the game without providing any examples and saying you're not allowed, and that it doesn't matter what the loot is like during the story in the game because the end game is more important. It doesn't, and that's just not good.
Maybe I didn't mention it, but at the time I think I said I was like 10 hours in or maybe 15, and my average character level was about 15. Now it's between 20 and 30 for everyone, I think. Yeah. And it's still the same fucking situation.
There you go. So, do you have any more triggers? It sounds like you got a bunch triggered.
So, there were a couple. They weren't like triggered, but they were just sort of more actually ones. And I've got one here, but it seems to have messed up on my computer. I can't quite read it properly. I'll refresh the page and it might format a bit nicer. It's like half of it's missing. But, so, part of because I got the free code from Square Enix, they gave it to me, but as part of the rules of that, you have to disclose that not only is it free, but you have to say it's sponsored. Yeah. And then people often, when you say that, people assume, oh, it's paid. So I put a comment and pinned it saying, this is just the rules. It's not anything to do with that. I even said, it doesn't mean I got paid. If I did get paid, it would have been a hell of a lot nicer. Like if they paid me, they didn't get their money's worth. So this person said, he directly replied to that. He got 1 like, which may well be a self-like. But then whoever responded to him then got 10. So then this guy's kind of got ratioed a little bit. So please actually take time to learn about the practicalities of the microtransaction system before you put out a video criticizing it. Okay, this is not a video criticizing microtransactions. It's a review, and part of it is criticizing that. So you should actually go listen to the reasons people appreciate, in capital letters, how microtransactions are done in this game, so you can actually have some perspective. I will take this system over many free-to-play games that are far more oppressive with microtransactions than this, and consider the possibility that they may even get more content for their money this way than charging $60 for the main game with 50 hours of gameplay, then selling them $30 DLC for another 40 hours, only to charge them another $60 for the sequel, and then getting them 50-ish, 150-ish hours of content, as opposed to the thousands of hours for $60 and the option to buy some cosmetics if you want to. Well, that was a bit of a tongue twister. I'm not entirely sure what I read, but he's just shilling for the microtransactions. I mean, cool if you dig it, whatever. But
there are people out there.
But like, it's not as. But what about them? It's not as bad as them. Yeah,
I love the response.
It's not as bad as others. Oh yes, and then importantly, that he got one like this Mr. Intellect 305. Then Soul Echelon comes in. When you have to compare free-to-play games microtransaction systems to a full-price AAA game, then you've already lost the argument.
Absolutely.
You've said all I needed to say, Soul Echelon. Thank you very much. And this guy, the first commenter, he comes back and he's doing a bit of a conversation, but I'm not going to read through all of it. But it's just like very much of the angle. Oh, microtransactions help fund the development and. It's good for us in the long run.
It's a live service bullshit. That's what you expect in a live service. No, that's what they've made you expect. They've set the standards themselves, and they're the ones who dictate whether they make enough money anyway. Imagine how many of these AAA games
it's fucking Square Enix. Like, come on,
wow,
they're enormous.
They don't have to nickel and dime you with these, but they do. Oh, that's how we continue the... Well, if the game was ready at day one and it was in a decent shape and it wasn't riddled with bugs and it didn't have loads of performance issues or whatever bullshit, you wouldn't have to keep working on the game to make it better. If it was if it was worth the $60 to begin with, then you wouldn't have to charge
Which
extra.
I said repeatedly. I said I can't recommend the game as it is. Buy it on sale. Totally buy it on sale for 30 quid or something. You'll have a fun little romp through superhero stuff, and you'll have more characters, and it will be much more polished than it is now, presumably. But yeah, it's not fucking worth $60, and it's still stuffed full of microtransactions. Oh, and you can earn currency. In my entire time playing, I've earned 500 credits. They're called. I think is it credits? It might be called something else. But I've earned 500 premium currency, which you can't buy like one skin for in the cosmetic shop. The cosmetics go for like 1,000 to like 15,000, 1,500 points, which is like a tenner or something. It's ridiculous for a skin. It's a fucking skin. What are you doing?
Yeah.
Anywho,
next up on that same Avengers review, Jack Shepherd says, "Talk about Stockholm syndrome. Can you imagine all these victims playing and defending this trash product and scumbag developer?" Opposite end of the spectrum there. Probably addressing the previous comment in what he's saying. It's like, there's so many people that defend this type of... I don't know, if you like the game and you're having fun, then why are you can still have the game and have fun.
That's the thing. Like, you don't have to, just because you like I like the game. I've said repeatedly, I'm having fun, but that doesn't mean that I have to love every part of it. It doesn't mean that I have to love the microtransaction system or just turn a blind eye to it. I like the story. I like the characters. That's all great. That's what I like. The microtransaction stuff is stuffed in clunkily and it's expensive. Why is it there? I don't have to, they're not mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
Now, I did have another comment on this video, but I lost it trying to find the other one, so I'll just grab a different comment. This one was quite fun. It's on, I think it was last week. It was on Friday's video, which the main story was about Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, and Mario Galaxy are now coming to the Switch, which is great news. That sounds awesome, but it's only available for 6 months, and it's totally bogus. So this person said, King Merrick, why does he say Mario like that? 3 laughing faces. Laughing like crying faces. He sounds like he's meowing. Now, I think you mean, why do I say Mario like Mario? Because his name is Mario. He's not Mario. It's not Mario.
Mario.
You fucking Americans. And someone even said, how do you pronounce it? Not one of those Mario with 2 R's and a hyphen people, are you? His name's Mario. But what more do you want from me? And just in case you weren't aware, perhaps you weren't, I am an Englishman. So I pronounce it this way.
I am an Englishman.
I am an Englishman.
Very well put there, Henry.
Someone else commented on a different thing about the way I pronounce things. I can't remember what it was. It might have been in the podcast, actually. Let's see if I can dig that one out, because that was quite funny. But his name is Mario, and I'm going to continue to call him.
Mario.
Sure shit, not calling him Mario.
Mario, come on, what's wrong with you? Mario. So, my next comment, I've got one here which says, from Pavel Vinic... it's obviously Polish. Pavel Winisiewski. So on the Cyberpunk video, right? CD Projekt clarifies misleading clickbait. Why nobody's talking about free next-gen Witcher 3 Wild Hunt update from CDPR? And that's, a lot of likes on that. Yeah. Nobody's talking about that. Everyone's talking about, microtransactions in Cyberpunk 2077, which was clarified again. And it's like, there's so many people got such short memories. Like, we went toe to toe almost with Yongye over this. I mean, it was the same news, but like months and months and months ago, where people were using misleading clickbait to try and imply that there was microtransactions coming into Cyberpunk based on one interview with Adam Kaczynski or whatever, and the same interview is being quoted today in this news cycle, and it's just a reverberation of the news that was clarified in the past, and people are like, oh, he said this like 6 months ago, and we went through all that, and we even and it was people like Yongye. I mean, we've been through it, and we're not against him. There was one tweet that we were unhappy with because it still said there's microtransactions in the game based on this clickbait website that he read. But again, it's like what this guy points out, nobody's focusing on what the good things are. They're just trying to get those clicks. They're just trying to force microtransactions to CD Projekt Red into one headline to get people to click to go to their outlet. And it's like, you can be better than that. I mean, it's just nonsense, regurgitating news and making it up in a lot of cases, and then CD Projekt come out and clarify it.
To be honest, the guy's right, because we didn't bring it up, and I probably should have, because it's good. I think I tacked on a couple of good things at the end. Yeah, which is like the free upgrade for the game into next gen. But I didn't mention the Witcher one. But I think I thought about it when I was writing. But I was like, well, it's not as relevant here because it's an older game anyway. But I mean, yeah, maybe I should have, but I didn't. So I've got one on a very, very similar note to that. It's about the CD Projekt thing, and it says, from Cranty Ons, zero faff, yet you repeat yourself a lot in the first half, and you are absolutely right, and that is a deliberate choice because people didn't fucking get it. Like the amount of comments I was reading through to it took me ages to put it together because I was reading all this shit, and I was like, why can't you just like read what they said? It's what they said. Cyberpunk 2077 is a single-player, microtransaction-free game. You pay a price, that's it. Then there is a separate game, which is also part of the Cyberpunk 2077 universe, which will have some form of microtransactions. They could be really bad. It could be cancerous. It could destroy CD Projekt's reputation. But we don't know yet. Yeah. It might be a free-to-play thing, so in which case it's pretty much fucking fair game with the microtransaction stuff. But yeah, you're right. I repeated myself a lot. But it's because people don't fucking get it.
Don't fucking get it, do they?
And some people still didn't after the video, because there's a guy, I fucking find it, he said about cancelling his pre-order of the game because of the microtransactions or some shit. It's like, gonna be microtransactions in it, guess I'm cancelling out. It's like, did you not watch any of it?
That's it. They're so, I don't know, it's just...
Thankfully, CD Projekt came out so quickly.
What can you do?
And all guns blazing to shut it down. There were a couple of videos I saw which were, CD Projekt lied. I was like, no, they didn't. They didn't. Like, they're two separate things. Perhaps it's going to be an expansion onto one, but it's a single-player game and then an extra thing on top. So, I mean, even then, that's like, great. It's extra stuff. The game's not coming until 2020 it's 2022. We're already in 2020. It's not coming until 2022 at the earliest. Like, just, what? It's such a fake controversy.
Okay, we're back now. So, sorry about that. Technical difficulties, but... we're going to persevere. Have you got any more? Any more?
Final one, just because it made me chuckle. And this is on last week's podcast from Cape Fury. did one of you fart around 38 minutes? And I was like, I mean, I don't remember farting. I don't remember hearing anything. But if you go to that mark, and I will act like a couple of seconds earlier, like 37:55 or something, it does sound like there's a little... and in this sort of this bit of dead air while we're like someone's just said something and we were like waiting for the other or something, and someone commented back to Cape Fury, ironically called Stinky Ewok,
right?
Talking about farts, saying it looks like Gaz pauses to push one out, and it's just a little honk.
I generally don't do them on camera, but I mean, I'm not going to deny it. It might have been.
I mean, when I looked at it, it did line up. The story fits.
You got to lean over a bit so
Yeah, let it escape.
Come out properly. There you go. So those are your comments for this week. I hope you've enjoyed them. Let's move on to the next segment, which is the bad dad joke of the week. First up, my wife rang me at the pub and said, if you're not home in 10 minutes, I'm giving the dinner I cooked to the dog. I was home in 5 minutes. I'd hate for anything to happen to the dog. But and the next one is, oh, hang on. I lost my, here we go. My neighbour has been mad at his wife for sunbathing nude. I personally am on the fence.
Yeah, that's good.
I just ate a bunch of Scrabble tiles. My next trip to the bathroom might spell disaster. That's pretty cool. So there you go. There's your trifecta, your triple up.
And they were all good. Not always.
I always look for the ones that have the smiley face emoji under them on the Discord channel, because there's a lot with like a face palm.
Yeah.
And I know not to read them, but the one with the smiley face emoji, people have... actually, I've got one from Metal Shark. Let's go with that. It's got 3 crying smiley face emojis on this one, so it better be good. So Metal Shark's posted one. A drummer wanted to shake off the perception he was thick just because he played drums. So his mate suggested he picked up a guitar instead. Off to the shops he went. Quotes, I'd like to buy a guitar, please, he said. You're a drummer, aren't you? Said the lady behind the counter. How did you know? He replied. Because this is a fish and chip shop.
For God's sake.
That was worth it. Thanks, Metal Shark. That was awesome. And that is your bad dad jokes of the week. That was 4 of them this week. You got a special offer. And that kind of leaves it. There's nothing left other than to introduce the final segment of the week, which is the ending segment. And that's just me saying goodbye. So thanks, everybody, for watching. If you enjoyed the content and you've listened this far into the podcast, then you probably want it to continue. So head over to patreon.com/prettygoodgaming in order to help us continue this production in future. And we really do appreciate everybody who takes the time to, or puts the effort in and supports us. And with that said, on behalf of Henry and myself, we will see you again next week. And until then, bye for now.